Joey Schwartz. Hello, Joey.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am too. I get excited about all my interviews, but like this is like super exciting for me because I was a child therapist before, and I worked with in children's homes a lot with teenage boys,
Hmm.
and your mind is amazing. Like your mind is absolutely baffling to me. And what I really think is so cool about it is that you have gone past barriers. Like I'm gonna go ahead and throw the stereotype out there. Uh, you know, East LA, no, West LA, 18-year-old. And so probably surrounded by a lot of classmates that are vegans or
Oh yeah,
vegetarians or on that.
yeah,
And somehow you stumbled your way to the understanding of the ancestral diet. So tell us a little bit about how you got there.
yeah. So started out when I was 16, getting into weightlifting, trying to get stronger with my friends, and very quickly diet becomes a big component. So we're trying to figure out how do we build muscle, carbs, 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 protein, protein, no fat, right? The occasional avocado is warranted, like that's fine, but it was just bananas, white rice, and whey protein. Like that was what it was. And I just remember feeling the constant ups and the downs. And prior to that, it had always been relatively plant-based and definitely no fat. I mean, I was not eating fat. It was always the lean, skinless chicken breast because that was the sort of the ideology adopted by my parents, and that's kind of what was pervasive in my household. So that's what I did, and then I get into the whole bodybuilding thing. It's also egg whites, like not even the egg yolks. I wouldn't even eat the yolks. Like it was so ridiculous, so stupid. And then I learned about ketogenic diets. So I'm looking at studies, because I realized something wasn't right. It was at this point that my intuition started kicking in. And I'm realizing my skin is getting redder, that I feel like crap all the time. And you kind of had to intuit, this is not how humans are supposed to be. This doesn't make any sense. Why would we be like this? So I'm trying to figure out the optimal diet for humans. And silly enough, I didn't think about our evolution. I hadn't gotten to that point yet. I was still sort of brainwashed into thinking that it must be something man-made, maybe lots of vegetables, extra virgin olive oil, all that stuff, right? Of course, I was wrong, and trying a ketogenic, plant-based diet absolutely killed me. It destroyed me. Energy levels were okay, like consistent throughout the day, but every time I ate, I got rashes. You know, it, it was bad. It was pretty bad. Um, so I said, that I can't be doing this anymore. I need to keep searching. Something has to be better. Come across Paul Saladino talking about how vegetables are poison. This guy's crazy. I keep
Yeah, and
scrolling.
so did you first see him on TikTok?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
TikTok.
that's what I love about him is that he goes out and yeah, he's, we can argue about him all day long, but he goes to where the people are, and I think that's
Yeah.
so important. So go ahead, sorry.
No, 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 I have a lot of respect for him, even
I
though
do
he's,
too.
yeah, I have so much respect for him, even though he's saying eat fruit. At least he's a doctor that's willing to change his mind with his own experience, and he's willing to, he's trying to help people. I really believe that, so I have tons of respect for him. He also got me into this,
Yeah.
I'm scrolling. Maybe I see his things pop up like three times before I eventually actually listen to one. Maybe the fourth or fifth time, I hear him out. And he says vegetables are toxic. Well, how could vegetables be toxic? Well, they're the roots, the bulbs, the leaves, the stems of the plant, the parts that certainly don't want to be eaten, that inflict essentially biochemical warfare on anyone that does eat them, because they're protecting the fruit that wants to spread its seeds and germinate. The vegetables foster the growth of the fruit, and they have these defense mechanisms embedded within them, so we don't eat them. They don't want to be eaten. They want to kill you so you don't reproduce and make another generation of people that are going to go around eating the plant. It makes perfect sense. And it all started to click, and I said no more vegetables. That, like, why would I eat these things? They're chemically defended. Meat has everything we need. Cool, I'm eating meat and fruit. I do that for 6 months. This was about a year ago, and it was like the difference cutting out vegetables, it was like night and day. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, my skin started getting better. I had way more energy. It was amazing. And then 6 months ago, I realized that the fruit wasn't really necessary. So cut that out and been pure carnivore, mostly raw for 6 months.
Yeah. Now, how did you get to raw?
Um, I was eating meat and I was about to cook it. Like I had a cast iron out. I was ready to cook. And I look at the steak and I'm just thinking to myself, what if I just ate this raw? Like, well, like that just sounds good to me. What if I just eat the steak raw? So I go and I eat the steak just purely raw. And that sort of enabled me to start eating much more raw meat, raw organs, raw liver. I remember the first time I had raw liver, it was like I was higher than I'd ever been on any on anything else. I was on drugs. It was crazy. It was the most beautiful thing. I ate a ton of raw liver. So I still do it sometimes. So so yeah, so I started eating more raw meat. And then I'm starting to see, Liver King, and he's
Yeah.
promoted. Yeah, he's awesome. I think he's great. And there's other people who are eating lots of raw meat. People in my comments talking about how they didn't really start feeling good until they ate raw, and that's of course only going to be in extreme cases. I mean, most people start eating meat and they, feel amazing. I just had a friend contact me recently. He saw my channel, and he said, "Joey, I ate a cooked steak and it tasted really bad to me, but then I just ate the steak raw and for some reason I could actually eat it." And I was like, that's so weird, but go for it. I mean, do that. It's safe to do, it's fine. But yeah, so that's why I started eating raw meat, and I don't really want to go back at this point.
Do you want to know why I started eating raw meat?
Yeah,
Pure laziness.
really?
Pure laziness. Yeah, because I was just like, oh my gosh, like this way of eating is so simple. Like so simple to just go to the grocery store, get the meat, get home, whatever, cook a steak, not a problem, cook a burger, whatever. And then I was sitting there and I was like, what if I could push the envelope of laziness
Yeah.
and I could not have to cook this? Like, how amazing would that be? And so I did it and I loved it. And I have a theory, I don't really understand it all, that there's something wrong with my absorption and that I actually absorb it better raw than I do cooked. Definitely, I absorb fat better raw
Oh
than
yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't digest it well if the fat is cooked, but raw, I can eat a half a pound a day
Mm-hmm.
with no problems. So I really don't understand it all, but I'm just grateful.
Yeah. I don't know why either, especially because in an ancestral context, it makes sense that we'd be cooking some meat, but I do have this sort of inclination to believe that we were eating some raw meat as well, because there are more nutrients in raw meat. I mean, you don't destroy the water soluble vitamins. And so there are maybe it is possible that maybe we were eating some raw meat, and that could explain why we're still, well accustomed to eating it and we feel good when we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you have done quite a few interviews lately. The ones that I've watched were Bart K and Dr. Kiltz. Any other ones that I missed?
I'm gonna be on Dr. Anthony Chafee's channel soon.
So
Yeah, that's
happy for
fun.
you.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I
yeah.
bet you were just like freaking out.
I was so happy when he answered. I mean, it took like 6 weeks from the answer, but eventually he did, and we did it. So it's yeah. What else? What else was I? Yeah, no, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And your YouTube channel is blowing up. I mean, you've got some views there, man. I
Yeah.
mean, people are like really getting into this, and that's why I wanted to have you on. I was just like, we need to tell the world about Joey,
Hmm.
because I think I'm 43 years old, and I think there's only so much that I can say or do to really speak to an 18-year-old or younger. I did have one client who was 18 years old and he had severe panic attacks. And I was able to get him to remove the sugar and the processed food from his diet, and they went away.
Oh my God, that's
And
so
he was
awesome.
having him so bad. Like he would be driving to work and he'd have to pull over on the highway, on the side of the highway, have the panic attack for like 15, 20 minutes, and then get back on the highway and go to work. And he was just like, this is debilitating. I'm 18 years old. Like, I can't do this.
Mhm.
And so thankfully his mom saw me, and his mom hired me and said, okay, coach my kid. And I did, and he listened. But not every 18-year-old is going to listen to me. And that's why I think that you have such a unique platform to be able to speak into your generation.
Yeah. I think some of the best, most gratifying comments I get are when they say, nobody wants to like it's a older mom or a dad that's commenting. They're saying nobody wants to believe mom or dad, but if I forward this to my son or my daughter, hopefully they believe you. And that's just the best feeling ever because, you know, I try to explain things in a way that can appeal to a younger audience, that can make sense to younger people. And if I can share my own experience that it's worked for me in the ways that it has, and it completely changed my life, then maybe I can convince people to do it themselves.
Yeah. And I love how you take the rebellion of like the teenage angst to, be like, yeah, let's go like against the vegans and against the vegetarians. And I love
Yeah.
like some of your videos where you're like debunking other people. And I don't care. Like, go and whatever you have to do to get the attention, just like Paul Saladino, go to TikTok, go do whatever you have to do to get your generation's attention, to let them know like, hey, like we're being lied to. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that you're broken, you're just not,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
malnourished.
Yeah. Yeah. When I go after the vegans, it's really coming from a place of care because I debated this one vegan guy who's feeding his child, only fruits and vegetables. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this woman who was, I think a few days ago, charged or given life in prison because she only fed her child fruits and vegetables in Florida, and she got sentenced to life because the baby died. She killed the baby. And it's just some of the most sad, stuff that I'm seeing. And if you can if you can really paint veganism as the devil that it is, then maybe, people will start to listen because it really is just it's a horrible thing. It's terrible.
Oh, absolutely. And then like people that I work with, at my day job, I actually just quit. Now I just do coaching full time.
Nice.
And my last day was last Friday. But in my day job, they would say, yeah, but vegetables are good for you. And I'm just like, I'm not going to have this conversation with you. Like, like
Yeah.
it is so intrinsic. It's so foundational to their narrative that vegetables are good for you. And it's like the polar opposite. They are poison. They're
Hmm.
absolute poison. And it's absolutely amazing to me that you get this. And one thing that I love about your story is that your mother is a nutritionist,
Hmm.
and seeing what you're saying, like she's understanding what you're saying. Um, and I just want to publicly say a shout out to your mom because she obviously raised you in unconditional love
Hmm.
to allow you to explore with your mind something that went against what she was saying and what she
Yeah.
was practicing, because I saw your refrigerator.
Yeah.
What's in your refrigerator
Oh yeah.
is a bunch of vegetables. And
Hmm.
so I think it's really beautiful that your mother allowed you to be a free thinker and allowed you to navigate this on your own.
I love my mom. My mom's the best, and she's very open-minded with stuff. And when I said that eating meat is, that's only eating only meat is healthy, she didn't say, this is the stupidest thing ever. She listened, and that's, I don't know if she raised me to be that way. If it's heritable, I don't know what it is, but it's cool having someone in the family that is just willing to listen.
And that's a sign of a good mom,
Yeah.
that she's going to allow you to be your own person. She's not going to like control your thoughts and control your behavior so that you can be a little cookie cutter person just like her. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's just, it's whenever I found that out, I was just like, that's a sign of a good parent. That's a sign
Yeah.
of a good parent who's going to allow their child to be themselves and to navigate, like you said, by your intuition.
Hmm.
You navigated this by your intuition, to be able to, it wasn't like you were just like mesmerized by Paul Saladino and you were hypnotized and you're like, I need to eat meat. I need to eat meat and fruit,
Yeah.
no, like you were your own thinker and you were like, huh, like I'm going to try that. And then you had the results. And my favorite thing was a video that you did on what you eat in a day, and you ate animal fat,
Yeah.
and you were like, oh my gosh, like it's just like lit up your brain and you
Yeah.
felt, I don't know, joy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost euphoria. It's like it's a drug. It like the fat is just it's oh my God, it's so good. It just makes me feel incredible. I can't I don't even really know how to like you did it perfect. It's like the oh like that's what it
Ah,
is. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
it is, it is. And for some other people who I've worked with before who have mental illness, who have depression, who have anxiety, like all they feel is horrible. And so
Hmm.
to even feel like a glimpse of joy is just like, oh my gosh, like what is this? And that it's not a drug, it's not a medication, it's a literally animal fat. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. So what I know that you're a freshman in college, correct?
Oh yeah, incoming. Yeah.
Yes. And you are navigating is it biochemistry? No.
Yeah, it might be. I'm still kind of undecided. It might be psychobio, it might be biology, maybe biochem, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and which is amazing and awesome. But I heard you talk about the idea of why would I go to med school and learn all these things that I'm not going to use just to say that I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, do you have an idea of the path that you might take? Already you started this YouTube channel and it's really taking off.
Yeah. Yeah, my only worry is getting banned because
Yeah.
yeah, that would suck. But yeah, so I've really given it a lot of thought. Then I've thought about it. In the next 4 years, I could learn about nutrition, physiology, and become one of the smartest people, most knowledgeable people in the field, in the entire field itself. I know I have the capability to do that. Or I could go to college, cost my family, a fortune, and learn stuff that I don't want to learn, and it's for a degree, right? For a degree and a fun, like potentially fun social experience. And I've been really sort of grappling with this idea of not going at all because my YouTube channel, like, it's like it's money that I could sort of like manage, like live on right now, kind of like what's happening now, and it's only growing. But it's just such a scary idea because it's so yeah, it's so intrinsic to our being, just the environment that I'm surrounded by. You go to high school and you go to college. Everyone does it. You don't dare evade the path. Like you don't dare circumvent going to college. You go. It so it's a really tough decision that I'm kind of forced to make right now. But I don't have to make it now, but I think I don't envision myself finishing college. I think I'll end up leaving and doing something better where I can help more people, potentially have a more lucrative outcome as well. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking.
What if you could do both?
I could, it would just be a lot, and I would
Yeah.
not get too good of grades. So
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could just like take a couple of credits so that you're still have your foot in the door until you really form this decision to be like,
yeah,
no, this is where I'm going. And honestly, I really do think that you can make money easily on YouTube with interviews. And then if you get into coaching, because Joey, I have had my private practice and I have practiced as a therapist. I have my master's in clinical counseling. I have over $100,000 worth of student loans, and I'm not using any of that to coach.
Yeah.
I'm using my experience, I'm using my toolbox that I've learned over the years. Yes, I'm still, meeting people where they're at, and talking through things with them. But it wasn't necessary where I'm at right now. It's not necessary for me to have letters behind my name at
Yeah.
all. But I get that it's a path that you have to take on your own. I get it. And I just like that you even can foresee that to know like, hey, maybe this isn't the way that I need to go.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm not gonna be able to help. Like I can't help people if I'm working for someone else. Because if any place were to hire me, like the job, if it's a sales job, okay, I'm not doing anything for people. If it's actually some sort of medical dietary intervention thing, they won't support what I'm doing. So there is no possible scenario where I can get my degree and use it for good, which means it doesn't make sense to get it at all. But it's so safe. Like it creates such a safe future if all fails. But I don't think I'm gonna fail. So, it's kind of like it's it's a tough choice, but at the same time, it's not. I just need to pull the trigger and do it at some point. I know I'm going to. It's just a matter of when. I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I mean, I had the revelation of carnivore and I was still in the private practice. And I was sitting there across from my clients with my hands like behind my back. Like I couldn't talk to them about, food. The
Hmm.
licensing board, the insurance panels, they didn't want me talking to my clients about food. They
Yeah.
wanted me to diagnose them and do talk therapy.
Exactly.
Diagnose, do talk therapy. And then it was like Groundhog Day. Every week we talked about the same things, the same problems, the same anger management, the same depression, the same, and if I would have just been able to be like, okay, we need to remove the sugar and the processed food from your food.
Hmm.
And then we can talk about all of these things.
Yeah.
And that's what I do now as a coach. And it is transformational. I'm far more effective with in coaching than I ever was in my private practice. And so I think that, yeah, it would be really difficult for someone is such a free thinker like you and who gets it on such a deep, deep level for you to go and be a little cookie cutter employee. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be like,
No.
that
No.
would be like death.
Yeah. 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 That'd be really bad. It's interesting when you talk about what you do. I just remember when I was in that mental state, I was under the, you know, I was under the belief that anyone with depression, anxiety, bipolar, any psychiatric issue, they were born with it. And it was completely, entirely genetic, like no environmental factors at all. I really believe that. And thinking now, I know that I thought that. That's how I felt. But thinking back to it, like in retrospect, it's just not very logical. I mean, that's a current way that people view these problems, chemical imbalances in the brain, you know, GABA, glutamate issues. But when it comes down to it, all of these imbalances or hormonal issues, they're all nutrition related to a pretty high degree. And just understanding that now, it's just there's so many paths and there's so many ways to go about um fixing the problem. I mean, and just spreading awareness. But I just think back, how could I have been so naive? How are so many people so naive?
It was very intentional. It was very intentional. It's been a very, very effective marketing campaign for the pharmaceutical drug companies. And so it was very intentional for us to believe, oh my goodness, I am a victim and I need this drug. And
Yeah.
the only way out is this drug.
Hmm.
And I was there. I mean, I was on a cocktail of medications
Yeah.
and it wasn't working for me. And who knew that just literally a steak,
I
a
know.
steak did it,
Yeah.
it's just absolutely mind blowing.
It is. And I have so many friends taking antidepressants. I mean, so many friends. And they eat such bad food. I mean, constantly sh eating sugar, refined grains, processed food because they don't think it makes a difference. And I try to explain to the best I can. And I think maybe where my approach went wrong is that I said eating meat is the best thing to do because that's an extreme step. I think what you're doing is much more effective, where you're saying, let's take out the processed stuff and the sugar. Because so yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That's something that I need to do instead. Because telling people to go carnivore, they're not gonna, they don't want to do that.
They
Not the
need,
first step.
yeah, they need baby steps.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, not only are you going against this massive marketing campaign for pharmaceuticals, but also for processed foods. And so the narrative is that this is normal. And so you don't want to stand there, like this little David against Goliath
Mhm.
going, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. You just want to go gradually into it because then you don't have as much resistance, especially for teenage boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Teenage boys have so much resistance in there, like, I'll do it myself, and this like protect and it's a beautiful thing. It's this protective mechanism in their brain that like they are warriors and they are going to be our next generation. And so they are trying to protect themselves. But we need to do it more gradual, I have found, especially for people who are number one so addicted. Because some kids have been addicted since like birth. And then you think about it and they celebrate their birthdays with a bunch of cake. Then there's holidays. And then when they have something that they're happy about that they celebrate, they go
Yeah.
get ice cream. Like it's so deep in our culture and in our society that for us to just rip the band-aid off, they can't handle it. But if you can gradually get them to just reduce the sugar, reduce the processed foods, then the inflammation in their brain starts to clear. And then they
Mm.
start to go, oh, I can think.
Yeah.
Oh, I can problem solve. You know what? I don't feel as good whenever I eat sugar and I eat processed foods. Then they do their own experiment. And then it's not them just following what Joey said, it's them following their inner clarity and their intuition on what is the best food for me.
Mm. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Uh, so, what is, next for you? I mean, I know that you're going to school, could just continuing on navigating this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to learn. I mean, it's so overwhelming how much information there is out there and how many biochemical pathways there are to learn and just how much human physiology is out there and all the ethical vegan propaganda nonsense to debunk. And there's just a lot of information, and I just want to get all of it because I know I have it right. I know that I'm right. We're both right. We both figured it out. But the problem isn't that we have it figured out. The problem is that it's hard to get other people to understand it. And what I've found is that the most effective way of getting people to, at least consider a carnivore diet or consider animal based and, low carb is talking about our evolution. So I want to learn more about the anthropological aspect of nutrition. I want to learn more about our history. I just want to learn at this point. And college might just get in the way of my education, but
I think so. I think
yeah,
so. I second that.
yeah.
But I would never tell you to like jump off, the cliff. But man, I think you can soar. I really think you got the wings on you, and I don't think you're gonna fall at all. I think you're gonna soar.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for increasing my belief in your generation. You baffle me. You absolutely baffle me that you have discovered this, and that you have made it your own, and that you have crossed through barriers of, society and culture, even in your own home, to make this part of your lifestyle. One other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick before we go
Yeah.
is that you understand how important it is to get your bare feet on the ground and your body and your eyes in the sun.
Yes.
Um, tell me how that came about.
Yeah, so experimentation is everything, right? I mean, you can hear something, it all sounds good, the science makes sense. But then again, when people were telling me that saturated fat was unhealthy, I said, okay, your logic makes sense, fine. But when you try it, that's when the real magic sort of comes. So I heard about grounding. I heard about, transfers uh electrons through you or, antioxidants and all these things. And I thought, okay, I mean, we didn't wear shoes for the entirety of our evolution. Maybe there's something to have natural grounding, having your feet be with nature, being one with the ground and nature. And so I started going on walks in the morning. I mean, the first thing I do when I get up, before I go on my phone, before I do anything else, at 6 a.m., I just go walk around my neighborhood. Everyone looks at me like I'm insane. I don't have shoes on, walking on the grass, walking on the street. It doesn't matter. And when I come back, I've done I did the test, right? Like I did it with shoes, I did it without shoes. And without shoes, it's just better. I don't really wear shoes anymore. It it just feels amazing. And I'm not exactly familiar with the science, but I know that grounding is very, very good. And I think most ancestral practices are generally good. With with the exception of like like cannibalism and stuff, like all like the obvious ones. But then
Yeah.
sunlight too. I mean, I think everyone feels good when they go into the sun, and I don't get burned anymore. I'm not sure if you've experienced that either.
Nope. I don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
burned at
yeah.
all. At
Yeah,
all.
we don't get burned. I mean, we have enough B vitamins. We don't Our skin doesn't burn up anymore. So I've always loved the sun. My mom always made us put on sunscreen, but now I don't put on sunscreen. No, no way I'm gonna put on sunscreen. Um, and it just, it makes me happy. Like the second I step out into the sun, it's just a joy sort of passing over me, and it feels great. Um, and that's like such a natural medicine. I mean, I'm with my friends, we're in the house, and we all go out into the sun, and suddenly everything's just better. I mean, the sun just makes everything so great. I think in addition to the food, of course, on the hierarchy of things that people need to do, sun is really up there because yeah.
Yeah, the next level up that I want to do is I want to go outside, be barefoot in the sun, and eat my raw meat and my raw fat in the sun every day.
Yeah.
Like, I just want that to be like my practice, even when it's like 12 degrees outside. Just that's what I do. I go
Yeah.
outside and I eat my raw meat and my raw fat barefoot with the sun in my eyes. Like,
It's the best thing
ah,
ever.
like how human can you get and how like free that is. Like, it's
Yeah.
free. It's sun and ground. Like, it's
It's
free.
Yeah, I mean, when I would come home from school most days at like 2:30, I would just be looking forward to going outside, taking my shirt off, no shoes, just soaking in the sun, eating the best food that exists. Not much better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for honoring me with your time, with your energy. I This is not goodbye. Like, I am going to continue watching your story. Hopefully have you on again. Hopefully be on your channel.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Because I really think that we have a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
and a lot of fun to have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And I will definitely put your link down below for your YouTube channel. It is called Carnivore Camaraderie, correct?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And it's been great. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we'll definitely do it again.
Sounds good. All
All
right.
right.
Talk to you next time.